Harry. Harry Nilsson. 1969, and what an album. I love Harry Nilsson, man. Since I was a little kid, growing up in Redondo Beach, Torrance, this guy, when I was a child, was the narrator pretty much of my city, Torrance, Redondo Beach, Hermosa Beach, Palos Verdes. Everybody's talking about Harry, man. We all were. Harry Nilsson. Me and my arrow, always on my TV. And of course, The Point, that album. Oh man, what an album with and then there's like a little TV movie with it with like Ringo and Harry and then of course Nilsson Schmilsson, Without You, and all that great shit on that album. Jump Into the Fire. Oh man, the Moonbeam song. And from there, Harry just goes up, man. I love the 1972 album, where Harry's like a vampire, man. Son of Schmilsson. This guy was just so funny, man. He's like Frank Zappa, Pete Townsend, Keith Moon, a drunken maniac. Hangs out with John Lennon. They just party all night, man. Up in Hollywood with the Hollywood vampires. Harry and Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees and Alice Cooper and John Bonham, John Lennon, Keith Moon. They're all just hanging out and just the rowdiest nighttime maniacs, just doing drugs, getting drunk. And Harry actually used to get really drunk, and he even got in fights with John Lennon. That's how badass Harry is. Now, Harry's not that good, man. I mean, he's really overrated as a singer. And people say he's just so incredible, but to me, Harry is very monotone. When I hear a Nilsson song, I'm like, oh shit, here comes Harry again. But, you listen because he's like a storyteller. Kind of like Pete Townsend or Bob Dylan, but better or something. It's weird. And the first 8 Harry Nilsson albums are amazing, man. I mean, I grew up with Harry, all those albums. My brother Greg was listening to, I remember him playing these songs in his room, and I was like, who is that, man? I love these songs. Harry hits occasional really high notes, man. He'll be singing his Harry voice, and then all of a sudden he just goes really high. And you're like, what? You're like, how does this guy sing like that? He was amazing, man. In my childhood, from age 4 to 9, in Redondo Beach and Torrance, man, for me and for everyone in the city, it was Harry Nilsson. The Point, Me and My Arrow, Without You, Jump in the Fire, You're Breaking My Heart, and all that killer shit with John Lennon from Pussycats. This guy is rock and roll legend, and how he is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You got fucking just this absolute worthless shit like Green Day in the Hall of Fame, but not Harry Nilsson and all that other crap, fucking Guns N' Roses, and fuck that, man. Put Harry in at 1-800-449-8255. Harry Nilsson should have a whole room in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame all to himself, man. Everybody in the United States remembers 1969, 1971, 1973. Harry was always on your TV. And he deserved to be, man, because he doesn't have the world's greatest voice. He doesn't even have a lot of talent, but there's something about Harry. occasionally, man, this guy hits it out of the park and he fucking autographs the ball for you and he hands it back to you after this fucker just hit another grand slam. Harry Nilsson. And Harry, sometimes you're listening to a song and this guy can be diverse and full of variety and mix shit up like no one else. He's got that foundation of Harry songs, with the piano, and you hear Harry Nilsson singing. But then, every now and then, man, there's like 8 or 9 Harry songs where he is diverse and you don't know you're listening to Harry. You're listening to some song like Without You. It sounds British or like it's from the UK. So that's such an amazing cover of the Badfinger song where Harry changes the arrangement and it's just so beautiful and he hits these high notes. It's just so killer. It's nothing like Harry, his other music. He goes to the next level on that song. And then Everybody's Talking is so amazing. And, before that, though, you had Shandemonium Patopole. Pandemonium Shadow Show, just an amazing album. And Harry's all over the place with his vocals, singing Italian and just, man, everything. There's bonus tracks that are amazing. And of course, Aerial Ballet, spectacular album, 1968. All the songs are so great on that album. I was only 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. But by the time I was 6, man, I knew Harry. Like that big brother I never had, or like that dad I never had. Harry was, for me, when I was in first grade at Parkway School, I was just a little lad, 6, 7, whatever, man. 1971, 72, 73. Harry was the narrator. When I would go home, turn on the TV or the radio, there's always a Harry song on, man. Harry Nilsson. But I didn't know about all the legendary partying, of course, when I was just a kid. As I grew older, I learned more about Harry with John Lennon, Keith Moon, and this guy was one wild, crazy guy, man. And his dad walked out on him when he was just a little kid. His mom and him, and, that's all he had, man. Harry told a funny story where they all got beaten up by like a bunch of black girls or teenage girls. That was Harry, man. This guy, I loved him. And when he died in 1994, I was in shock. I got to tell you a story, man. I ran into Harry in 1992, me and my brother Greg, up in Beverly Hills at Gelson's on Wilshire and, near Wilshire and Beverly Glen. And I saw Harry. 1992, I was 27. My music days were winding down. We were standing in line and I saw this kind of overweight guy with a leather jacket on. And my brother Greg and his wife and me. And I said, Greg, that's Harry Nilsson. And my brother Greg's like, yeah, Clark, go up and get his autograph. And I walked up to Harry. I approached him. And I said, Mr. Nilsson. And he just stopped what he was doing. He was going through his wallet, like trying to give the lady money. Just in line at the store, man. And I was like, Harry? And he's like, excuse me, hold on, man. I'm doing something here. He was like paying the lady in line. And I was like, I'm sorry, my friend. And he was like, I'm not your friend. And I was like, whoa, this is a bad. I was like, what's this, man? I'm getting bad vibes from Harry. And, I persisted because this is Harry Nilsson, man. This is like my all-time idol. This is like Jesus Christ to me, man. Jesus Christ, you're Harry. Come on, man, be cool. And my brother Greg was looking like with a weird look, and his wife were like, they were both like, you know. And then Harry paid the lady, and then he moved on. He grabbed his bags, and I was like, Harry, Mr. Nilsson, and he just stared at me. And I stopped, and he just looked at me with a glare, and I was like, I really love your music. And I wanted to talk to him more and shake his hand, but he's this really tall guy, and he had on like tall boots and a big leather jacket, and looked overweight, and he had these jeans on, and he looked like he was 6'4", just this big tall guy, or maybe it was just the high boots. But he just glared at me. He's like, "What do you want?" And I was like, "All right, man." I was like, it's all good, my friend. And then I was back with my brother Greg, and I was all, maybe that wasn't Harry Nilsson. And Greg is all, it was, Clark. That was Harry. And, we were, just buying stuff for Bel Air. I was a landscaper. We were like the crew up at Mr. Ida's place on Sunset, right next, near the Playboy Mansion, and by Carrollwood Drive in Sunset, near where, what's that lady who got beheaded? Jane Mansfield's house, a pink house on the corner with a heart. And then Engelbert Humperdinck lived there when my brother Greg was in Bel Air. And we were just, we were going back. We were buying food for the house. And I kind of lived on the guest house. And they, later on after the OJ murders, they used to call me Cato. But anyway, 1-800-449-8255, Clark the Shark Show, Harry. My favorite artist, man. Everyone says he's the most incredible singer, and at times he is. He hits really high notes, and he's great, man. Harry Nilsson. And this album, Harry. I love it. I grew to love this album over time. But I gotta get back to that story, man. Anyway, we're out in the parking lot at Gelson's in Westwood, or wherever that is, like Holmby Hills, Bel Air, Beverly Hills, Wilshire. The Gelson's there. And we're in the parking lot just putting our bags away. And there was like this, I think it was a Beamer, man, like a BMW. I'm not sure. Maybe it was some nice kind of car, like revving its engine. And the car was just revving its engine there, man, in the parking lot of Gelson's. And it was all... And, me and my brother were putting our grocery bags away. And I kept looking over the car. I'm all, what's that car doing, man? Just some guy in the car is like... He kept revving the... And like I looked again. I looked in the car, and I'm all, that's Harry. Harry's in that car, Greg. And we were like, looked over there, and I began to walk over, and Greg's all, Clark, don't go over there. Just let the guy be, man. And I was like, oh, And my brother Greg, he either forgot his wallet or something in the shopping cart, and he went back to get it. And we kind of forgot about the car revving its engine for about, a minute. You know how you just doze off and you go into a daydream. And when my brother Greg walked back to Gelson's, all of a sudden, the car, the Beamer with Harry Nilsson in it, just takes off right at my brother Greg. And my brother Greg dove out of the way. It's crazy, man. I don't know, he's just trying to scare my brother and lost control of the car. And my brother Greg was like, hey! And, man, it's crazy. Harry Nilsson tried to run over my brother, but I think he was mad at me. Maybe that was meant for me. Then all I was doing was, asking him for an autograph and wanted to tell him I loved him and I liked his music so much. And I never forgot this, man. And then he ripped around the parking lot doing like donuts or something. Like he was, it was so crazy. And then he just tore off. He got on Beverly Glen or Wilshire, and we just heard this. like, like Harry just drove away, and we were just like, there was smoke in the parking lot. It was just so classic, man. It was. We were just in shock. We were just like, we saw Harry Nilsson, and he was in some kind of bad mood or psychotic episode. But later on, of course, I found out that Harry uh, was going through all this shit in 1992, 93, 94. He died. You know, he had a couple of heart attacks, I think, 93, 94. Yeah, he's trying to do that final album, desperately trying to record an album. And I found out that this man, Harry Nilsson, signed over all his money to some lady named Cindy Sims, like his accountant or financial advisor or whatever. And she stole all his money, like $8 or $10 million, all the money Harry had. And he was completely stressed out. His house was foreclosing. All this stuff was happening bad. I think this happened in like 90 or 91 or 92. And then probably that night that we saw Harry, it was exploding. Like it was just a culmination crescendo where the guy just snapped. And, you know, man, 1-800-449-8255. But, yeah, I never forgot that. It's I still loved Harry. I don't care about that night, man. And the guy was so passionate. That night even makes me love the guy more. I mean, I swear to God. Me and my brother loved Harry Nilsson, but I think my brother Greg started hating him after that, but I loved him more because I'm like, man, this guy, he's a nutcase just like me. He's reality. He's crazy. He'll kill somebody. He's a nutty psychopath. And I didn't realize he lost all his money to that Cindy Sims, the crook financial lady that only went to jail for like a year or 2 years, and she never paid Harry. And Harry was borrowing money from Ringo Starr and Alice Cooper and all these people. He was trying to borrow money from Julian Lennon or whoever, Paul McCartney, trying to save his house, save his cars, save his family, basically. I mean, Harry lost it all, and I think he was trying to do that last album and desperately trying to get a record deal. He was going around Hollywood taking his tapes to everyone, and no one would sign Harry. I totally know that feeling, man. Because me with GE, with the greenhouse effect, when they just don't want you, they just don't like you, they ain't signing you. It's a horrible feeling, man. Especially when you're good. You got all this talent, and you can't find anyone who likes you. It's just a sad, lonely feeling. And, the story of Harry, how he worked in the bank back in the 60s, and he somehow, it's just a miracle he got onto RCA Records, and he got that record deal. And this guy, Harry Nilsson, man, what a man, what a guy. He had 6 kids. 6 kids, man. Harry, 6 kids. The puppy song. That's so awesome, man. Dreams are da 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 da. Ah, I love the puppy song. Nobody cares about the railroads anymore. Love it, love it. Open your window and do 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 do. Oh, awesome. Love Open Your Window. Mother Nature Son cover, the Beatles. Harry does a good job on it. Fairfax Rag. Is this cool? I fucking love City Life, man. I love that song. Harry didn't write it. I love City Life, man. I love that fucking song. And maybe covered by Barbra Streisand. Dun 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 do do. Maybe do 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 do. When I was a kid, I love it, maybe. And Barbara Streisand does an amazing cover. And Marching Down Broadway is actually written by Harry's mother. It's a nice little, really joyous little song, sort of dedicated to our soldiers. And I Guess the Lord, man. Fuck, I love I Guess the Lord Must Be. New York City. Supposed to be the song they used in the movie. But of course, man. That other song, Everybody's Talking, was so great. They had to use that song for Midnight Cowboy, but I Guess the Lord Must Be in New York City is fucking great. I love the song. And of course, Rainmaker. An early Harry foray into rock and roll, where you got like this drum beat that's like John Bonham that starts it, and Rainmaker is just an amazing song. Now, if there's one weak song on this album, Mr. Bojangles, which was later done better in the 70s by that guy. We heard that on the radio all the time. Harry's version of this isn't that good. It's interesting, you know. And the Simon Smith Dancing Bear tune, and good song, interesting. And there's some bonus tracks here. I Will Take You There is off Squidoo. It's a great song. Of course, everyone knows that one. And another version of Rainmaker and Waiting. Good little track. But, yeah, this album, Harry, in many ways, is my favorite Harry album. I really love City Life. I love that song. A great job by Harry on that. And I love Open Your Window, man. I went and visited Harry's grave. I just sat on the ground and was just sitting by his grave. And there were other people there, man. And you could feel, I don't know, feel the spirit of Harry. And Harry, he was like, "What are you doing here? You again, huh?" I could feel like his spirit. He's like, get out of here. You short little 5'6" midget. I don't like you. Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255. And I'm like, I don't care, Harry. I like your music. I like all these songs. Rainmaker. I fucking love the Puppy song, Harry. I don't care if you like me or if you hate me. Harry Nilsson, 1-800-449-8255, the Clark the Shark Show. And I'm just reviewing one of the greatest Harry Nilsson albums. Is it as good as Nilsson Schmilsson? I can't compare them, man. Apples to oranges. Is it as good as The Point or Pandemonium Shadow Show or Pussycats or, Son of Schmilsson? They're all so good, man. They're not really great. Harry ain't the Beatles and he ain't the Who. He ain't David Bowie, man. But in some weird way, Harry's got something that David Bowie loved. And every now and then, man, this guy hits notes. And his voice has that little vibrato where he holds a note so long, man. He's such a good singer. He's such a great singer, and he goes so high. But he's just the average guy, too. Harry is average. So much about Harry is just ordinary. But this guy throws knuckleballs, curveballs, sliders, change-ups. He's out there pitching at you, and you're like Bugs Bunny swinging, man. And sometimes it's like 1, 2, 3, strike, you're out, like Yosemite Sam or, whoever that cat was, or fucking Tom and Jerry or some shit. Harry is like Nolan Ryan, man. He throws fastballs, but then he's like Phil Necro. He throws knucklers. This guy just never stops messing with you, man. Every album is different. Every album is apples to oranges. Every album was great, man. So good, so solid. But his songwriting, this guy must have written 90 songs, and a lot of his songs are just average. They're just mediocre. But he's the best fucking average mediocre in the world, man, because every now and then Harry hits it out of the park. And he doesn't even run the bases. He's just being a clown, flipping off the pitcher and making fun of people, man. Harry Nilsson. He'll start a fight on the baseball field. He'll punch the umpire. He'll tackle the first baseman. He'll just run to the dugout and attack the opposing coach in a drunken maniac stupor. This guy, this unpredictable, crazy sociopath, Harry Nilsson. And they say when he was sober, he was a really nice man, really friendly, really approachable. When this guy's drinking, don't go near him, man. He'll fight anybody. John Lennon, Alice Cooper, Keith Moon, some random taxi driver on Sunset. 1-800-449-8255, Clark the Shark. Harry Nilsson. I'll review other Harry albums, but I gotta dedicate some time to Harry. Frame this amazing album with Rainmaker and all those great songs. The Puppy Song. This is Clark the Shark. 1-800-449-8255, and I'm out. VR.